The silence stretched across Nellie's Air Force Base like a held breath. Captain Vera, Mirage, Kozlowski pressed her palm against the cool metal of her F-35's fuselage, watching the sun bleed orange across the Nevada desert. What happened next would either vindicate 15 years of military service or confirm every whispered doubt that had followed her through 3 deployments. She didn't know that in 47 minutes, a classified distress signal would crackle through her headset, changing everything. The other pilots called it luck when she consistently outperformed in simulations. Luck when her targeting solutions appeared faster than seasoned veterans. Luck when she landed damaged aircraft that should have killed her. But luck doesn't explain why Master Chief Petty Officer Diego Restrepo, a SEAL with more confirmed kills than public records would ever show, was currently walking across the tarmac with his Barrett M82A1 slung across his shoulders, heading straight for her. Captain Kozlowski, his voice carried the weight of someone who'd seen too much darkness. "We need to talk." Vera turned, her flight suit rustling in the dry wind. Restrepo's face was carved from stone, but his eyes held something she recognized, the look of someone who'd made an impossible decision. The Barrett caught the dying light, its scope housing gleaming like a predator's eye. "This isn't standard protocol, Chief." "Nothing about today is standard." He unslung the rifle with practiced ease, holding it like a sacred artifact. 3 hours ago, satellite imagery confirmed what we hoped was impossible. There's a situation developing 90 miles southeast of here. Hostile forces have captured civilians, including the Secretary of Defense's daughter. Traditional extraction isn't viable. Vera's breath caught. She'd heard rumors of missing persons, classified briefings behind closed doors, but nothing concrete. "What does this have to do with me?" Restrepo's weathered hands traced the Barrett's stock. "Because you're not just a pilot, Captain. You're a weapon systems specialist who scored perfect marks in advanced marksmanship training. Because your flight path for today's training exercise passes directly over the target zone. And because sometimes," he paused, studying her face, "sometimes the universe puts the right person in the right place at the exact moment they're needed most." The desert wind picked up, sending dust devils dancing across the runway. Vera felt the weight of unseen eyes watching from the control tower, felt the presence of classified conversations happening in rooms she'd never see. Whatever was coming next would demand everything she'd learned, everything she'd endured, everything she'd become in a career spent proving herself worthy of respect that seemed perpetually just out of reach. The radio on Restrepo's belt crackled to life. "Mirage 1, you are cleared for immediate takeoff. Time-sensitive mission parameters uploading to your HUD. Godspeed." Vera looked at the Barrett, then at the SEAL who'd chosen to trust her with it. The weapon represented more than firepower. It was validation, responsibility, and the chance to prove that underestimation could be the enemy's fatal mistake. She reached for the rifle, feeling its weight settle into her hands like destiny itself. "Chief," she said quietly, "tell me everything." The briefing lasted 8 minutes. 8 minutes to absorb tactical positions, hostage locations, extraction windows, and the uncomfortable truth that conventional rescue operations had already failed twice. The Secretary of Defense's 19-year-old daughter, Marina Blackwood, was being held in a fortified compound built into the side of a mesa, surrounded by terrain that made ground assault impossible and helicopter insertion suicidal. "Intelligence suggests 12 to 15 armed hostiles," Restrepo explained, spreading satellite photos across the wing of her aircraft. "They're using her as leverage for prisoner exchanges, high-value terrorists currently in federal custody. The deadline is sunset today. After that..." He didn't finish the sentence. Vera studied the images, her tactical mind automatically calculating angles, wind patterns, potential firing positions. The compound looked like a fortress carved from red rock, with limited visibility and multiple escape routes for the captors. Traditional sniper positions would require ground teams to establish overwatch teams that would be detected long before reaching effective range. "This is why you need an aerial platform," she murmured, understanding dawning. "Your F-35 can maintain position at optimal firing distance while staying outside their detection envelope. The Barrett's effective range extends to 2,000 meters under ideal conditions, but it requires a shooter capable of compensating for aircraft movement, atmospheric pressure changes, and target acquisition at extreme range." Vera hefted the rifle, feeling the balance point, testing the scope adjustment. The Barrett M82A1 was a legend among precision weapons, capable of stopping light armored vehicles and engaging targets at distances that challenged human perception. In the right hands, it was surgical. In the wrong hands, it was worthless weight. "The shot has to be perfect," Restrepo continued. "One opportunity, miss, and they'll execute the hostage immediately. The compound has underground tunnels. Once they realize they're under attack, she disappears forever." The weight of responsibility settled on Vera's shoulders like lead armor. 15 years of service had prepared her for many scenarios, but this demanded skills that existed at the intersection of aviation expertise and marksmanship mastery. She thought of every doubt, every questioning glance, every time she'd been passed over for missions deemed too dangerous for someone her size and gender. "There's something else," Restrepo said, his voice dropping lower. "The hostage takers, they're not random terrorists. Intelligence indicates they're former military, specialists who know our tactics, our response protocols. They chose this location specifically because they knew conventional rescue would fail." Vera looked up from the photographs, meeting the SEAL's steady gaze. "But they didn't count on unconventional rescue." "Exactly." He folded the images, tucking them into his vest. "Captain, I've worked with the best shooters in the military. I've seen impossible shots made under pressure that would break most people. But this requires someone who can think three-dimensionally while maintaining sniper-level precision. Someone who's spent their career being underestimated and overcoming impossible odds." The radio crackled again. "Mirage 1 weather window optimal. Mission clock starts now." Vera secured the Barrett in the F-35's weapons bay, her movements precise and economical. Every motion was deliberate, every check systematic. The aircraft hummed with contained power as systems came online, displays flickering to life with tactical information that would guide her to the target zone. As she climbed into the cockpit, Restrepo appeared at the aircraft's side one final time. "Captain Kozlowski, Mirage, that call sign wasn't given lightly. You've spent your career making the impossible look routine. Today, make them remember why." The canopy sealed with a pressurized hiss, enclosing Vera in the familiar cocoon of switches, displays, and the subtle vibration of barely contained thrust. She initiated pre-flight sequences while her mind shifted into the zone, that mental space where training, instinct, and absolute focus converged into something approaching prescience. "Tower Mirage 1, requesting immediate departure clearance." "Mirage 1, you are cleared for takeoff. Winds 270 at 15 knots. Climb and maintain flight level 300. Good hunting." The F-35 rolled forward with predatory grace, gathering speed as it approached the runway threshold. Vera felt the familiar surge of acceleration as the Pratt & Whitney turbofan pushed 38,000 pounds of thrust through the aircraft's frame. The desert floor dropped away as she climbed into the vast Nevada sky, the Barrett secured beside her like a promise waiting to be kept. At 25,000 feet, she banked southeast toward the coordinates burned into her memory. The landscape below transformed into a patchwork of shadow and light, mesas rising like ancient monuments from the desert floor. Somewhere in that wilderness, Marina Blackwood was counting down her final hours while her captors prepared for a confrontation they believed couldn't reach them. They were about to learn the difference between impossible and improbable. Vera Mirage Kozlowski had built her career on that distinction, and today it would matter more than ever before. The HUD displayed tactical information with clinical precision: target distance, wind velocity, atmospheric conditions, optimal firing solutions. But behind the data lay the human element: a 19-year-old girl whose future hung in the balance, and a pilot whose entire career had led to this singular moment of truth. Mirage 1 approaching target zone, she transmitted. Beginning tactical assessment. The compound appeared as a dark scar against the red mesa's face, exactly matching the satellite imagery. Vera initiated a wide orbit, staying outside detection range while the F-35's advanced sensors painted a detailed picture of the tactical situation. Thermal imaging revealed guard positions, structural weaknesses, and most critically, the location where Marina Blackwood was being held. Through her scope, Vera could see movement in the compound's main building, shadowy figures moving with military precision. These weren't desperate criminals or political fanatics. They were professionals who'd studied American rescue protocols and positioned themselves accordingly. The compound's elevated position provided clear sight lines in all directions, making ground approach impossible without detection. Mirage 1 to control, she transmitted, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. Target acquired. Hostage located in structure designated Alpha 1, northeast corner, second level. Count 12 visible hostiles, positions consistent with professional security formation. Copy Mirage 1. Authorization confirmed for precision engagement. Rules of engagement are weapons-free for hostile targets only. Hostage preservation is absolute priority. Vera adjusted her orbit, calculating the optimal firing position. The Barrett would need to reach across nearly 1,800 meters of empty air, compensating for aircraft movement, crosswinds, and the complex ballistics of engaging a target from an aerial platform. The mathematics were staggering, variables that would challenge even the most sophisticated computer systems. But mathematics weren't everything. Years of flying had taught her to feel the aircraft's movement like an extension of her own body, to anticipate vibrations and compensate for minor course corrections before they registered on instruments. The Barrett felt familiar in her hands despite its weight, another tool in an arsenal developed through countless hours of training and real-world application. She activated the weapon's scope, and the compound leaped into crystal-clear detail. Guard positions became individual faces, weapons became specific threats, and the building holding Marina Blackwood transformed from a satellite image into tactical reality. The scope's crosshairs danced slightly with the aircraft's movement, but Vera's breathing automatically synchronized with the rhythm, finding the natural pause between heartbeats where perfect stillness lived. "Contact," she whispered, identifying the primary target, a figure in tactical gear positioned to maintain overwatch on the hostage location. Take him out, and the others would be forced to reposition, creating the window needed for extraction. The radio crackled with an incoming transmission. Mirage 1 were tracking additional movement. 3 vehicles approaching from the north, appears to be reinforcements. Your window just got smaller. Vera's jaw tightened. What should have been a surgical strike was becoming a race against time. The approaching vehicles would bring additional hostiles, changing the tactical balance and potentially triggering immediate execution of the hostage. She had minutes, perhaps less, before the situation deteriorated beyond recovery. Understood. Control. Engaging primary target now. The crosshairs settled on their mark, a sniper positioned on the compound's highest point, weapon trained on the approach routes any rescue team would use. Through the scope, Vera could see his face partially hidden behind tactical gear, professional and alert. He was good at his job, but he'd made one critical mistake. He hadn't looked up. Vera's breathing slowed, her heartbeat becoming a metronome marking the rhythm of perfect timing. The F-35 rode the air currents with mechanical precision, while her mind calculated the impossible, compensating for the aircraft's movement, the target's position, wind drift, and the subtle effects of atmospheric pressure at altitude. The Barrett's trigger had a clean break point that she'd memorized during the brief testing period on the ground. She found it now, feeling the weapon's potential energy balanced on the edge of release. In her peripheral vision, tactical displays showed the approaching vehicles closing distance, 4 minutes out, maybe less. "Target acquired," she transmitted, taking the shot. The rifle's report was absorbed by the F-35's cockpit, but Vera felt the recoil through the weapon's stock, felt the massive projectile launch across the impossible distance toward its target. Through the scope, she watched the bullet's trajectory carry across empty air, crossing the gap between aircraft and compound in a fragment of time that stretched like eternity. Impact was instantaneous and decisive. The hostile sniper dropped from his position, his weapon clattering down the mesa's rocky face. Confusion rippled through the compound as the remaining guards tried to understand where the shot had originated. They scanned the horizon, searching for ground-based threats, while the real danger circled overhead like a mechanical angel of death. "Primary target neutralized," Vera reported, already acquiring the secondary target, a guard positioned near the hostage building's entrance. "Moving to Phase 2. But the approaching vehicles had accelerated, dust clouds marking their desperate rush toward the compound. Radio chatter erupted across multiple frequencies as the hostage-takers realized they were under attack from an unknown position. Time was collapsing into critical seconds. The second shot required a different approach. The target was partially concealed behind cover, presenting only intermittent opportunities as he moved between positions. Vera maintained her orbital pattern while waiting for the optimal moment, the Barrett ready to deliver surgical precision across impossible distance. "Mirage 1, vehicle convoy now 3 minutes out. Recommend expedited engagement." "Copy that, Control. Standing by for target presentation." The guard emerged from cover, weapon raised as he scanned the surrounding terrain for threats that weren't there. Vera's crosshairs found him instantly, the scope's magnification bringing his face into sharp detail. Another professional, another soldier doing his job on the wrong side of a conflict that had escalated beyond anyone's control. The Barrett spoke again, its message crossing the distance with mathematical certainty. The second guard fell, and now the compound's security formation began to collapse. Voices shouted in the language of tactical confusion as the remaining hostiles tried to adapt to a threat they couldn't locate or counter. In the building where Marina Blackwood waited, Vera could see movement through the windows, captors repositioning in response to the attack, potentially preparing for the final contingency that every hostage situation carried like a loaded weapon. "2 down," she transmitted. "Hostage building showing increased activity, time critical." The approaching convoy crested a rise 2 miles from the compound, vehicles moving with the urgency of a relief force rushing to reinforce a position under siege. But they were too late to change the tactical equation. Vera had already shifted the balance, creating the chaos needed for extraction, while eliminating the sniper positions that had made conventional rescue impossible. Her radio crackled with a new voice, confident, professional, carrying the unmistakable authority of Special Operations Command. "Mirage 1, this is Shepard Team Leader. We are moving to final approach. Your overwatch has created the opening we needed. Maintain position and provide covering fire as required." Through her scope, Vera could see dust clouds rising from hidden positions around the compound's base, extraction teams that had been waiting for exactly this moment, poised to move when the impossible became possible. The Barrett had opened a door that conventional tactics couldn't breach, and now the real professionals were moving through it. "Roger, Shepard Leader. Mirage 1 maintaining overwatch. Additional hostiles remain active in Sectors 2 and 4. The compound erupted into organized chaos as the extraction teams breached the perimeter from multiple directions simultaneously. Smoke grenades created instant concealment, while tactical teams moved with lethal precision toward their objective. The remaining guards found themselves caught between aerial precision fire and ground-based assault, their defensive positions compromised beyond recovery. Vera tracked movement through her scope, identifying threats and eliminating them with surgical accuracy. Each shot of the Barrett crossed impossible distance to find its mark, removing obstacles that would have delayed or derailed the rescue operation. The weapon had become an extension of her will, reaching across empty air to protect both the rescue teams and their precious cargo. Mirage 1, this is Shepard 2. We have visual on the package. Appears to be in good condition but secured behind reinforced door. Can you eliminate the guard posted outside? Vera's scope found the target, a figure crouched beside the building's entrance, weapon trained on the approaching rescue team. The angle was difficult, requiring a shot that curved around the building's corner, but the Barrett's massive projectile could penetrate light cover that would stop conventional rifle rounds. Target acquired, firing now. The shot took the guard's cover and the guard simultaneously, the heavy bullet punching through concrete blocks and steel reinforcement to eliminate the threat beyond. Breaching charges detonated seconds later as the rescue team gained entry to the hostage location. Package secured. The transmission carried jubilation and relief in equal measure. Marina Blackwood is alive and mobile, moving to extraction point now. But the approaching convoy had reached the compound's outer perimeter, disgorging additional hostiles who immediately began setting up firing positions to trap the rescue teams. Vera found herself transitioning from precision strikes to area denial, using the Barrett's intimidation factor to suppress enemy movement while the extraction proceeded. Mirage 1, be advised, enemy reinforcements are establishing firing positions on your bearing 270, requesting immediate suppression. Copy Shepard, engaging suppression targets now. The Barrett's reach extended to positions that the hostiles believed were safe, delivering massive projectiles that shattered cover and scattered defensive formations. Each shot reminded the enemy that nowhere was beyond the reach of American military precision, that their carefully planned ambush had become a killing ground designed by forces they couldn't see or counter. Through her scope, Vera watched the extraction team emerge from the compound's main building, Marina Blackwood moving under her own power despite obvious exhaustion and stress. The 19-year-old showed remarkable composure for someone who'd been captive for 3 days, staying close to her rescuers while they moved toward the predetermined extraction zone. Package is mobile and moving to extraction point Alpha, Shepard leader transmitted. Mirage 1, we're going to need continuous overwatch until the birds arrive. Roger Shepard, maintaining position. How long until extraction birds are on station? 4 minutes out, can you hold that long? Vera checked her fuel levels and ammunition status. The F-35 had plenty of range remaining, and the Barrett still held enough rounds to deal with immediate threats. But 4 minutes was an eternity in tactical time, especially with enemy reinforcements continuing to arrive. Affirmative, Shepard, I can hold. The next 4 minutes stretched like hours as Vera maintained her aerial vigil, the Barrett reaching out to touch targets that threatened the extraction operation. Each shot was calculated to maximum effect, not just eliminating individual threats, but creating psychological pressure that degraded enemy coordination and decision-making. Finally, the distinctive sound of rotor blades echoed across the desert as extraction helicopters approached from the north. The MH-60 Black Hawks came in fast and low, using terrain masking to avoid detection until the final approach. Dust clouds erupted around the extraction zone as the aircraft settled into landing positions. Birds are on station, Shepard leader announced. Package loading now. Mirage 1, thank you for the assist. We couldn't have done this without you. Vera watched through her scope as Marina Blackwood was helped aboard the lead helicopter, surrounded by operators who'd risked everything to bring her home. The young woman paused at the aircraft's door, looking up toward the sky as if sensing the presence of her unseen guardian. The helicopters lifted off with military precision, climbing rapidly while maneuvering to avoid potential ground fire. Within seconds, they'd cleared the threat zone and were racing towards safety with their precious cargo secure. Mirage 1, this is Control. Package is secure and en route to safety. You are cleared to return to base. Outstanding work, Captain. Vera secured the Barrett and banked the F-35 toward home, watching the compound shrink to insignificance in her rear-view mirrors. The desert looked different now, less empty, more alive with possibilities she'd never considered before today. The sky that had always been her domain had become something more, a platform for impossible precision, a position where underestimation became the enemy's fatal mistake. As Nellie's Air Force Base appeared on the horizon, Vera allowed herself a moment to process what had just occurred. The Barrett M82A1 rested beside her like a sleeping giant, having delivered precision fire across distances that challenged human perception. But the weapon was just a tool. The real achievement belonged to the fusion of aviation expertise and marksmanship skill that had made the impossible routine. Tower Mirage 1, requesting landing clearance. Mirage 1, you are cleared for immediate landing, runway 21. Welcome home, Captain. The F-35 touched down with the smooth precision that marked professional aviation, its landing gear kissing the runway with barely a whisper. As Vera taxied toward the flight line, she could see a crowd gathering, ground crews, maintenance personnel, and officers whose expressions carried a mixture of curiosity and newfound respect. Master Chief Restrepo waited beside her parking spot, his weathered face showing the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. Behind him stood officers whose rank insignia told stories of careers built on tactical excellence and operational achievement. But today, those accomplishments seemed less important than the simple fact that Marina Blackwood was alive and safe. As the F-35's engines wound down to silence, Vera ran through post-flight procedures with mechanical precision. Each switch position, each system check, each entry in the aircraft's logbook represented another step back toward the routine world she'd left behind 90 minutes ago. But that world had changed, and she with it. The canopy opened with a hydraulic sigh, revealing the Nevada afternoon in all its harsh beauty. Hot air rushed into the cockpit, carrying the sense of aviation fuel, desert sage, and something else, the indefinable smell of a mission accomplished against impossible odds. Vera climbed down from the aircraft, her flight suit still damp with perspiration from the intensity of the past hour. The Barrett felt heavier in her hands now, weighted with the knowledge of what it had accomplished. She approached Restrepo with the weapon held respectfully, like a sacred artifact being returned to its keeper. "Chief," she said simply, extending the rifle toward him. Restrepo didn't immediately take the weapon. Instead, he studied Vera's face with the intensity of someone reading tactical assessments in human features. Captain Kozlowski, Mirage, that was textbook precision shooting under impossible conditions. The extraction team leader said your overwatch made the difference between success and disaster. The Barrett performed as advertised, Vera replied, maintaining the weapon's presentation. Excellent choice of equipment for the mission profile. The Barrett is just a tool, Restrepo said, finally accepting the rifle. Tools don't compensate for aircraft movement at 1,800 meters. Tools don't calculate wind drift and atmospheric pressure while maintaining perfect trigger control. Tools don't make impossible shots routine. Around them, the crowd of observers maintained respectful distance, but Vera could feel their attention like heat from a spotlight. Word had already spread through the base's communication networks. Captain Kozlowski had accomplished something unprecedented, turning aviation platforms into precision shooting positions that redefined tactical possibilities. There's going to be a debrief, Restrepo continued, securing the Barrett with the same care he'd shown when entrusting it to her. Intelligence wants every detail of your engagement sequence. Tactical development wants to understand how to integrate aerial precision fire into standard operations. And the Secretary of Defense, he paused, a slight smile crossing his weathered features. The Secretary wants to meet the pilot who brought his daughter home. Vera nodded, understanding that her career had just taken an unexpected turn. The quiet competence that had defined her service record was about to become very public recognition. Part of her welcomed the validation, but another part mourned the loss of anonymity that had allowed her to exceed expectations without the burden of elevated scrutiny. Captain Kozlowski, a new voice interrupted her thoughts, young, uncertain, but carrying unmistakable authority. She turned to see a lieutenant colonel approaching, his expression mixing professional curiosity with genuine admiration. "Yes, sir." "Colonel Martinez, Base Operations. I wanted to personally thank you for what you accomplished today. The integration of precision shooting with advanced aviation platforms. It's revolutionary. We're going to want to develop training protocols, establish new operational procedures." "Sir," Vera interrupted gently, "with respect, today wasn't about revolutionary tactics. It was about using available tools to solve an immediate problem. The revolution was trusting that the right person could make the right shot when everything depended on it." Martinez nodded slowly, understanding flickering behind his eyes. And the right person happened to be someone who'd been consistently underestimated despite exceptional performance records. "Underestimation can be a tactical advantage," Vera replied. "Enemies don't prepare for threats they don't recognize." The colonel's expression shifted toward something approaching awe. "Captain, I think you've just redefined what we consider possible in modern warfare. The question now is, how do we build on what you've proven today?" Vera looked around the circle of faces, officers, enlisted personnel, support staff, all studying her with new recognition. The quiet competence that had carried her through 15 years of service had suddenly become the foundation for tactical innovations that could reshape military doctrine. But with recognition came responsibility, and with responsibility came the weight of expectations that could either elevate or crush. "Sir," she said carefully, "today was about bringing Marina Blackwood home safely. Everything else is just details." The colonel smiled. "Captain, I have a feeling that your details are going to keep tactical development busy for a very long time." As the crowd began to disperse, Vera found herself alone with Restrepo beside her aircraft. The SEAL stood quietly for a moment, studying the F-35's sleek lines and the Barrett he held like a bridge between two worlds, aviation and precision shooting, conventional operations and impossible missions. "You know," he said finally, "when I decided to hand you this rifle, I was taking the biggest professional risk of my career. SEALs don't lend their weapons to pilots, no matter how good their records look on paper." "What changed your mind?" Restrepo was quiet for a long moment, his weathered hands running along the Barrett's stock. 15 years ago, I was a young operator convinced that special forces were the only real warriors in the military. Everyone else was just support personnel, important but not combat effective in the ways that matter. He looked up, meeting Vera's eyes with the directness of someone sharing uncomfortable truths. "Then I watched a female pilot land a damaged F-16 under fire in Afghanistan, saving her wingman's life and delivering critical intelligence that broke up a major terrorist operation. She took rounds through her cockpit, lost hydraulics, and still brought that bird home like she was parking at the grocery store. That pilot taught me that warrior spirit doesn't care about gender, service branch, or anyone else's expectations. It shows up where it's needed when it's needed, in the form that gets the job done." He hefted the Barrett slightly. Today, warrior spirit looked like a pilot who could make impossible shots routine. Vera felt something shift inside her chest. Not pride, exactly, but recognition. The validation she'd sought throughout her career hadn't come from promotions or commendations, but from the moment when professional competence became trusted capability in the eyes of someone who understood what both cost. "Chief," she said quietly, "thank you for taking the risk. Thank you for making it worthwhile." Restrepo secured the Barrett across his shoulders with practiced efficiency. "Captain Mirage, I have a feeling this isn't the last time the military is going to need someone who can make the impossible look routine." As the SEAL walked away across the tarmac, Vera remained beside her aircraft, watching the desert sun paint the sky in shades of amber and rose. The F-35 stood silently beside her, its weapons bay empty now but somehow changed by what it had carried. The aircraft had always been a marvel of technology, but today it had become something more, a platform for precision that redefined tactical possibilities. Her radio crackled with an incoming transmission. "Captain Kozlowski, this is Base Commander. Please report to operations immediately. We have some people who'd like to speak with you." Vera secured her flight gear and began walking toward the operations building, her reflection moving across the F-35's polished surface like a ghost of possibilities yet to be explored. Behind her, maintenance crews began post-flight inspections with the careful attention that marked professional aviation, checking systems that had performed flawlessly under unprecedented conditions. The base commander's office was crowded with personnel she didn't recognize, civilians in expensive suits, officers with insignia from multiple service branches, and tablets displaying classified information that painted tactical pictures she'd helped create. At the center of it all sat Marina Blackwood, looking remarkably composed for someone who'd been rescued from a terrorist compound 3 hours earlier. "Captain Kozlowski," the base commander announced, "I'd like you to meet some people who are very interested in your work today." But Vera's attention focused on Marina Blackwood, whose 19-year-old eyes held depths that spoke of experiences no teenager should endure. The young woman stood as Vera entered, extending her hand with the poise of someone born to political prominence, but tempered by recent trials. "Captain," Marina said, her voice steady despite obvious exhaustion, "I wanted to thank you personally. I don't fully understand what happened today, but I know you were watching over us when we needed it most." Vera shook the offered hand, feeling the slight tremor that betrayed the emotional cost of the past 3 days. "Miss Blackwood, I'm just glad you're safe. The extraction team did the real work. I just provided a different kind of overwatch." "Different is right," one of the civilians interrupted, consulting his tablet with the intensity of someone processing tactical revolution. "Captain, what you accomplished today represents a paradigm shift in precision engagement capabilities. We need to understand every aspect of your methodology." Over the next 2 hours, Vera found herself answering detailed questions about targeting solutions, ballistic calculations, aircraft stability management, and the integration of precision shooting with advanced aviation platforms. Each answer seemed to generate 3 more questions as the assembled experts tried to comprehend how routine training had produced extraordinary results. But the most important question came from Marina Blackwood, asked quietly during a brief break in the technical discussion. "Captain, how did you know you could make those shots? How did you have that kind of confidence?" Vera considered the question carefully, understanding that her answer would be heard by more than just the people in the room. "Miss Blackwood, confidence isn't about knowing you'll succeed. It's about being so thoroughly prepared that success becomes the natural result of training meeting opportunity. And if you'd missed, then we would have found another way. Military operations succeed because we always have another way and another way after that, until we accomplish the mission or exhaust every possibility." Marina nodded slowly, processing not just the words but the mindset they represented. "You make it sound so simple." "Simple and easy aren't the same thing," Vera replied. Today was simple: identify threats, eliminate them, protect the rescue operation. But it wasn't easy. Easy doesn't require 15 years of training and experience to execute properly. As the debriefing continued into the evening, Vera found herself repeatedly returning to the same central theme. Today's success hadn't been about revolutionary tactics or extraordinary courage, but about applying professional competence to an unprecedented situation. The Barrett had extended her reach. The F-35 had provided the platform, but the mission had succeeded because thorough preparation had met unexpected opportunity. When the formal debrief finally concluded, Vera stepped outside to find the desert night painted with stars that seemed close enough to touch. The base had settled into its evening rhythm, but she could feel the undercurrent of excitement that accompanied news of successful operations. Word was spreading through military networks that something unprecedented had occurred, that tactical boundaries had been redefined by a pilot with a borrowed rifle. Her secure phone buzzed with an incoming message, encrypted text that carried the weight of official recognition. Captain Kozlowski, your actions today exemplify the highest traditions of military service. The Secretary of Defense extends his personal gratitude for bringing his daughter home safely. Further discussions regarding your future assignments will follow through appropriate channels. Vera pocketed the phone and looked up at the desert sky, seeing it with new appreciation for the platform it had provided. The stars looked different now, not just distant lights, but reference points for navigation systems that could guide precision fire across impossible distances. The night sky had become a tactical environment where preparation met opportunity in ways that redefined what was possible. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new questions, new expectations built on today's unprecedented success. But tonight, Marina Blackwood was safe, her captors were neutralized, and the Barrett M82A1 rested in Master Chief Restrepo's armory with the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. As Vera walked toward her quarters, she passed the flight line where her F-35 sat under protective covers, its systems powered down but somehow still radiating the potential energy that had made today's mission possible. The aircraft looked ordinary in the fluorescent security lighting, but appearances could be deceiving. Today had proven that ordinary platforms in the right hands could achieve extraordinary results. Her reflection moved across the aircraft's surface one final time, and Vera smiled at what she saw, not just a pilot, but a warrior who'd found her place at the intersection of aviation excellence and tactical innovation. The quiet competence that had defined her career had finally found its voice, and that voice had spoken across 1,800 meters of empty air with surgical precision. The desert wind carried the scent of sage and possibility as Vera disappeared into the night, leaving behind an empty flight line, and the echoes of impossible shots made routine. But the real echo would resonate through military doctrine for years to come, as tacticians struggled to understand how a pilot with a borrowed rifle had redefined what was possible when preparation met opportunity at exactly the right moment. In the distance, a coyote howled at the star-filled sky, its voice carrying across the vast Nevada landscape like a salute to the warrior who'd proven that legends could be born from the marriage of skill, determination, and the simple refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. The night sky watched silently, holding secrets of precision fire and tactical innovation that would reshape military thinking for generations to come. And somewhere in that star-filled darkness, the spirit of mirage lived on, proof that underestimation could be the enemy's fatal mistake, and that the right person in the right place at the right time could make miracles look routine.